Mute. Mute.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's give.
They just filled in the seats like we got here earlier.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy early Mother's Day on this fine Mother's Day weekend. I hope it's a nice, beautiful weather like it is here in San Antonio, wherever it is that that you are. Welcome. Blanca, can you do the call to order, please?
Sure. Start with you, Nora Lopez.
Present.
Julio Cesar Chavez.
Present.
Eva Cabrera.
Here.
Arelis Hernandez.
Saludos de México.
Keldy Ortiz.
Present.
Blanca Rios, I'm present. Jennifer Marcial Ocasio. I think she's on, right? Jessica.
Presente.
Okay. McNally Torres. Yep. Jamie Stockwell. Melissa Macaya.
Present.
Johnny Cordova. Okay. Christy Fajardo. And Nanette Sosa. And wait, I'm sorry. I think David Cordero. Sorry.
Santa.
I didn't see it. I know Elwyn López isn't here and Valerie Juarez isn't here. Jorge Flores, is he on? I'm sorry, I don't have my screen because I'm on.
No worries. Yes.
Okay.
Present.
Thank you. And then our guests would be David Peña as BA, Yunwen and Kenneth. Are they all on?
That's all our staff. Thank you. I think all our staff is on.
Yes.
Great, and we have a quorum. Oh, and I'm sorry, Leslie Ann missed you.
All right, looks like we have a quorum. Blanca, do you want to move ahead to the approval of minutes of our last meeting?
Yes, I shared with the board the minutes from our last January meeting and our emergency meeting, and I would like to move to approve them. Unless there's any discussion.
Is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
I second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting. Is there any discussion at this time? If there is no further discussion, then I move that we approve them through just a simple vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition?
I see Nanette and Christy are on. Thank you.
Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries and our minutes are approved, and we will post those online as we've been doing with all our other minutes. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us today. I'm really thrilled to begin our first board meeting with our most recent and most significant addition to our leadership. That is our new executive director, David Peña Jr. I don't know why I'm getting some feedback. Is somebody open? If you could please turn off your mics. Thank you. Appreciate that. David will tell you a little bit about himself a little later in the meeting. We're really, the board is just thrilled that we have hired David. The search for him was so long. It felt like it took way too long, but it was worth the effort because the national board is really confident in his vision. And despite the fact that he's only been in the role for about 6 weeks, let me tell you, David has just been running and gunning. We're thrilled to have him, and I know NAHJ is going to soar under his leadership. So welcome, David. Also, real quickly, my apologies to our members, but I just realized at the start of the meeting that we did not note on our agenda that we will have some time at the end of the meeting to hear from our members. So when we get to that point, please, you can just raise your hand or you can let us know via chat if you wanted to speak up. Thank you. So just going to give you a little bit of just kind of where things stand with NAHJ and sort of what we've been doing these last 3 months since our last meeting. I'm super happy to report that our membership is holding strong. We're right at about 4,100 members or so. I know we were all concerned whether we'd be able to keep that our membership at over 4,000 because, you know, it was a specific push that we did last year. And so there's always the fear, you know, will people renew? But we're hanging in there. We're steady. Growth continues for NAHJ. And I'm very proud of this because I feel that our sustained membership really shows the passion of our members and the passion they have for our mission and our community. And I think it demonstrates a collective determination to create change through NAHJ. So thank you. And I'm hoping that, you know, we're going to have more explosive growth as we get nearer to our convention in Vegas in August. We have continued, speaking of the convention, we continue to offer panels and sessions throughout the year. You know, it's not just the convention. So please keep your eye out on our emails when we send out those notices. And of course, if you're on our social media following us, you'll get notice about some of those, some of that training that we offer separate and apart from the convention. So, oh, and also you can go to our website and check out recordings of some of the past and more recent training in our membership portal. I want to congratulate real quickly our recently announced NAHJ Emerging Journalist and the 2022 recipients of our various programs, scholarships, internships, fellowships, and of course the coveted NAHJ Student Project, which I'm really looking forward to now that we're going to be together in Vegas. In fact, just before the meeting, we were noting that this board has never met in person. We will be meeting in person for the first time in Vegas in August, and that will essentially be my last meeting as well as the last meeting for most of the members of the executive at-large posts. Which takes me to the reminder that we have two upcoming deadlines. We have a deadline May 13th for the 2022 NAHJ Hall of Fame nominations. So please get in your nominations by May 13th. Sooner is always better. And then also the national elections. The deadline to submit your nominations for a board position is midnight Eastern, July 2nd. Each potential candidate must get 25 nomination signatures in order to be eligible to be on the ballot. And the positions that are open are mine, president, vice presidents for online, print, and broadcast, treasurer, secretary, national general at-large member, national Spanish at-large officer, and national academic officer. I have to tell you, if you're even considering or thinking about running for NAHJ, please do so. We're doing a lot of really good work, and we need as much involvement and support as we can get from all our members. It truly is everyone hands-on to do the mission that we are trying to effect. So encourage you. Oh, and real quickly, I also wanted to congratulate, I'm sorry, I looked over my notes. I wanted to congratulate board member and VP for online, Yvette Cabrera, who was recently honored in Los Angeles by Capital in Maine for her excellence in social impact journalism. This was a really huge honor, and congratulations, Yvette. I'm gonna try to be as brief as possible. I know nobody wants to hear any one person talk for an extended period of time, but there is a lot that we've been up to over these last few months. And so just want to hit a few highlights. This past Tuesday, in fact, NAHJ remembered journalists who died protecting the public interest during World Press Freedom Day. Among the partners that we partner up with are groups like Press Tracker, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the Regional Center for Freedom of the Press, as well as many others. And this is important work we do. Because I know you follow this type of information, I know you know that there have been 9 assassinations of journalists in Mexico. There's a cyber attack across Latin America that includes our colleagues in El Salvador. And of course, continued increase in harassment, jailing, and injustice against journalists in Brazil. So it's imperative that NAHJ and our members continue to advocate for an end to these attacks on freedom of expression, because really any threat to democracy, no matter where in the world, is a threat to democracy here at home too. We've also joined efforts with a coalition of other journalism organizations in support, of LA Times reporter Elwyn Chekmidayan. She's a reporter with the LA Times and the Los Angeles County Sheriff. Recently at a press conference announced that she was the subject of a criminal investigation as a result of a leaked video that showed a deputy kneeling on an inmate's head. So NAHJ, media unions, other sister journalism organizations, and free speech advocates, we all spoke out in support of Elwyn and really other journalists who are being harassed or threatened by law enforcement. Elwyn had been doing some tough reporting on allegations that the sheriff obstructed justice and that he retaliated against whistleblowers who raised concerns about the incidents. So his comments really targeting a reporter is a misuse of power, and we were proud to stand up and say that this type of retaliatory behavior will not be tolerated. So we continue to push on that front. Additionally, NAHJ joined with Open News and some 50 other organizations representing journalists across the country in urging the Pulitzer Prizes to improve diversity and transparency in the news industry, really by requiring that news organizations publicly share information about their staff demographics in order to be eligible for the Pulitzer Prize. There's a variety of organizations or systems that they could use to do that reporting. The Pulitzers, I think, must announce their plan by May 9th. That's the announcement date for the 2022 prizes. So we're waiting to see if that committee will take up the challenge that has been issued by all of these organizations. We emphasize that the Pulitzers, really, they've got more than a year to figure out the exact details. So we hope that that this will become a reality, and they will make that commitment. Over the past months, we've been in discussions with CNN about the CNN Plus platform. I'm sure you noticed we came out strongly in condemning the fact that when they did their rollout of CNN Plus, there was no Latinos among either the journalists who would be participating or the programs that they were offering. Of course, you guys know that that platform came to a really abrupt end 3 weeks out. So those talks have stalled a little bit until we figure out how best to move forward, because we do want to continue to push for Latino inclusivity at CNN. Meanwhile, we are offering our support and resources to any NAHJ CNN members who may be impacted by the layoffs. We did that similarly and extended our help and support also to journalists who were impacted by when the Black News channel was closing. So we're here as a resource. Please come to us if you have problems accessing any of this help on our website. Reach out to me or our staff, and we will happy to help you out. We also joined forces with members of the Latino Advisory Leadership Council. That's a coalition of national Latino organizations in denouncing the announcement about the members who will make up the merged company's board of directors. This is a Discovery. As many of you know, not a single Latino. So we were really dismayed. It's abundantly clear that Discovery's leadership does not consider Latinos as a part of diversity. There were many other diverse directors that were named, but not a single Latino. So NAHJ is going to continue to press Discovery toward changing our community, because come on, if they don't recognize our power, then they're really just shortchanging their own self. Hispanic community is booming. What, 1 in 5 Americans now identify as Hispanic. And on average, you know, we've got the youngest consumers and we spend the most per person on entertainment. So they ignore us at their own expense. And we will continue to advocate. On a really positive note, I'm excited to share that journalist Manuel Duran Ortega was granted asylum after a really long legal battle. NAHJ and a coalition of amici news organizations offered Manuel help throughout this, you know, really long process that started, I want to say in 2018, yes, in 2018. In fact, if you don't remember Manuel, he was arrested in 2018 at a protest in Memphis, where they were protesting the local law enforcement's practice of detaining suspected immigrants and handing them over to ICE. And following his arrest, Duran was detained by ICE for 15 months. I'd like to thank Ballard Spar for their commitment and facilitation of this coalition. And also former NAHJ presidents Brandon Benavides and Hugo Balta and board member Geraldine Gols Azocar, who started this fight. And I'm happy that we saw it through its fruition and that Manuel is now free. On a personal note, I was invited to address the ACES Society for Editors Convention that was held in the spring here in San Antonio. This is a group that started as copy editors, but they've since expanded. And well, not surprisingly, they asked me to speak on the importance of diversity in our industry. And I'm happy to say that the message was well received. But as I told them, it's not enough to agree with me, with us, with NAHJ, but really to take the next steps to help us achieve diversity and parity in their individual organizations. And the only way to do that is one small step at a time, one diverse hire at a time, one diverse promotion at a time. I reminded them that at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, news organizations across the country promised to do better, to think more critically about the portrayals of people of color, and to advance parity so that their newsrooms look more like the communities that they serve. But we're not there yet, and we are far from it. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but when newsrooms reflect the communities that they cover, you just get better stories, you get different perspectives, you capture more nuances, and you diminish blind spots. And when we're producing stories that resonate with your communities, with your readers or your viewers, then your community knows that they can trust you as a news source. And who knows, they might be willing to pay you for it. Isn't that what we're all up to? All what we've come to. So this leads me to our next point of discussion. It is perhaps the single most important thing that this board is doing right now. Is to create a 5-year strategic plan, a roadmap, if you will, of what we want to accomplish as an organization, and more importantly, how we are going to do that. We hired a consulting agency, La Piana, and after receiving feedback from our members through surveys and meetings and listening sessions, we're almost ready to finalize the plan. And we hope to unveil it at our meeting in Vegas. We think that this plan will really help continue to strengthen our NAHJ community and will help our members to succeed in this constantly evolving industry. Because in order to achieve more Latinos in news and leadership, the board feels strongly that we need to prioritize advocacy for equity and parity and newsroom accountability, and to build the power and presence of NAHJ and Latinx community. So I'm going to turn this over for a little bit to Yvette Cabrera, who chaired the Strategic Planning Committee, and she'll give us a little bit of more of an update. Yvette.
Thanks, Nora. So as Nora outlined, one of our goals in putting the draft together was to make sure that we got feedback from as many stakeholders as possible. And by stakeholders, I mean, of course, our members, our staff, the board. So just to summarize the work that we did to get here, the Strategic Planning Committee met about a year ago, began organizing the retreat that we had last fall in October. And this is with staff, the board, where we stepped back and said, what is NAHJ trying to accomplish? What given all of the challenges that we face in this industry, where does NAHJ need to focus its priorities? So from that retreat, the Strategic Planning Committee then started working on the draft. And then we did additional stakeholder meetings. We put out a membership survey. We compiled the survey responses to see what were the top priorities of members. And then once we had the draft, an initial draft in place, we then had more stakeholder meetings. This was chapter presidents, former presidents, folks that we know are passionate and interested in seeing NAHJ succeed. And so, so we have this draft that we've completed based on all of that, which I just shared with the entire board yesterday to get their feedback. So we're in the final phases of editing this draft. Once we have that draft edited, we are going to vote on it. The board's going to vote on it. Towards the end of May, we're going to hold a special meeting. And then from there, the staff and the board is going to work on an implementation plan. We did not want to create this plan without there being accountability to us as a board, to the staff, to make sure that we're not just publishing this strategic plan without saying, okay, here's what we're going to do to accomplish these goals. So that's what the implementation plan is going to be about, and we're going to focus on that this summer. The idea is, yes, as Nora said, we're going to unveil it at the membership meeting to talk to the members about, these priorities and how we're going to accomplish them. But we're going to look at releasing it before the conference to give members a chance to review it. We know everyone's crunched for time. We don't expect everyone to go through every minute detail, but if you can, great. If not, the membership meeting is going to be about walking through all of this. So we make sure that that the members understand what we were trying to accomplish when we set these goals, what we heard from their feedback, how we incorporated that into the plan. So that's the general outline for the next couple of months. We're still open to hearing feedback. So if you are interested in learning more, we can do one-on-ones so that you can understand it a little bit more. But yes, we will be holding a meeting in a couple of weeks towards the end of this month to take a vote on it. So it's really exciting. I think that for us as a board, stepping back and being able to ask ourselves, what's our bigger vision, was really helpful. And ultimately, we don't want it to be a mystery what happens, behind the scenes with NAHJ. We want to be open and transparent about that, both the process of how we got here, but also how we're going to try to accomplish these goals, because we can't do it alone. We have to do it with the membership. We want to do it with the membership. And together, hopefully we can make this a plan that puts NAHJ on a healthy and solid plan moving forward.
Thanks, Yvette. I'm really proud of this. I think it's really going to help us take NAHJ to that next level together with our new executive director. I'm really excited about this strategic plan. We haven't had one in, I think, over a decade. So it's a really good thing. Thank you. A little bit of housekeeping. In order to keep the business of NAHJ going, we need to vote on a couple of formal resolutions that grant authority to our new ED to act on our behalf, as well as several resolutions reaffirming our bank, our audit firm, our CPA firm, and updating our investment policy. I want to be clear to our members that these are not new contracts that we are entering into. These are the same firms, agencies that we've been using in some cases for about 5 years or longer. But because we've had some changes in leadership, we're required to vote on these resolutions so that everything is legal. That said, you know, we are always, we want to, and we're trying to set up a process through our treasurer, Keldy, who's brought this to our attention, to make sure that we do a better job of keeping up with these things and figure out, really make our finance committee active so that we're constantly reviewing and making sure that we are where we want to be, that we're associating and working with firms and agencies that have our best interests and that are giving us really the best service possible. At this point, I will entertain a motion on the first resolution.
Yes, I'll move.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, that was me. I'll make a motion.
Also, you guys have to read it, the whole thing out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me read that. It's the motion to certify that David Peña is our National Executive Director. So I'll go ahead and read the entire document. It says, we, National Association of Hispanic Journalists Board of Directors, do hereby certify that David Peña Jr. is National Executive Director of NAHJ. Following is a complete and accurate copy of the resolution adopted by the Board of Directors of the NAHJ at a meeting held on May 7th, 2022, at which a quorum was present. Be it resolved that David Peña Jr. as NAHJ National Executive Director is hereby authorized to act on behalf of the NAHJ and at his sole discretion, 1, to negotiate, approve, and execute contracts not to exceed $5,000, 2, to negotiate, approve, and make offers related to programs and events on behalf of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. Be it further resolved that the aforementioned officer, executive director, is hereby authorized to undertake such actions as he may deem necessary and advisable, including the execution of such documentation as may be required to carry out the daily functions of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. In witness whereof, we have executed the certificate with the approval of all voting board members of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists on this, the 7th day of May, 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Keldy.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, a resolution formally authorizing David Peña Jr. as Executive Director of NAHJ and allowing him to act on behalf of NAHJ. Is there any discussion? Okay, since there's no discussion, let's go ahead and just take a simple yay nay vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I will entertain a motion on the next resolution.
I have this. Oh, wait, no. Oh, never mind.
You do.
Oh, I do. Yes. Hold on. Second.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, no, just bear with me. I have a lot of screens open.
In fact, Keldy, everything's pretty much under you as treasurer.
Do we really have to read the entire document? I mean, that's just a lot.
Who was the one who said we had to? I think that was that.
That was me in response to at least just saying I moved the first resolution. Like instead of just saying the first or the second, and we just have to spell it out.
Just say what the resolution is.
Yeah.
You don't have to read it, but tell us what the resolution is. The resolution is designating Wells Fargo as the official NAHJ bank.
Correct.
Simple. You don't have to read the whole document. I mean, we're never gonna get out of here if we read this
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
Liz ready to get on with her mom weekend. Go ahead, Keldy. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I'm make a resolution to approve the selection of Wells Fargo as the official bank. This is essentially this has been our bank for a while. It's just essentially recodifying it and having it for their records. On a side note, we are like looking into other banks at this point, but we just need to do this so that we have at this point there's 3 people on the account. It's Nora, myself, and David, and now they will be authorized to like make any changes because before I was just the only sole person after our previous director left. So this is just approving that. And yeah, so that's the resolution again is to approve Wells Fargo as NAHJ's official bank.
Is there a second?
Blanca, I second it.
Okay, there is a motion to formally designate Wells Fargo as the NAHJ bank. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a simple vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next one, Keldy.
Yeah, the next one is just to make sure that UBS Financial Services is our official firm. Again, it's not really much change to it. Reason we're doing this is to make sure that again, when our previous executive director left, I was like the only person in charge. So now this just has David, myself, Nora, I believe Blanca. I'm missing someone else at this point in time. But this resolution is just making sure approving ABG Wealth Management, also known as UBS Financial Services, as our official firm.
Well, you jumped the gun because the next one was the audit firm.
Oh, yes. Oh, did I? Okay, my apologies for that.
It's okay. We can vote on it.
Yeah.
We'll just come back to the other one, Keldy. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion on the floor formally designating UBS as NAHJ's official investment firm. Is there any discussion? Okay, another simple vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
The next one, going back to it because I jumped it, it's just the resolution to approve our CPS as our audit. That's Greenwald, the Certified Public Account Services, are based out of Indianapolis. This is our audit that we've had for previous years, and this is just to approve them as Greenwald as the audit to conduct our audit for our account for NAHJ. Sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor, formally designating Greenwald CPA as our official audit firm. Any discussion?
I have a question. Is it Greenwald with 3 E's? Is this a typo?
It's a typo.
It is a type. It is a typo, and also we are missing. It's the annual. It's missing an L. So before we this actually gets posted, we'll make that change to it.
Okay, so I'm glad start saying this so Blanca can take note.
Yeah, no, can you repeat what it's missing, Keldy?
So go ahead. I'm sorry, someone was going to say something.
No,
Okay.
I know the Greenwald is spelled wrong, but what is?
Annual. It's be resolved that Greenwald CPA Services is fully authorized to handle NAHJ's annual audit. It's just missing an L. Yeah.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
That was a late aye. That was not opposition, right? Okay.
No, it wasn't. Sorry. I can't click on stuff. I'm calling my Uber at the same time. Sorry.
All right. Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
The next one I have is updating our investment board policy. Essentially, it's the same we had, but we had to, David worked with our UBS investment policy just to make sure we updated it. Nothing like really changed as far as like allocation. It's just making sure that everything was up to date because of the fact that the last policy was updated in 2005. And we just wanted to make sure that everything was retroactive in terms of like the names and titles of the key stakeholders on the account. So that'd be the executive director, the treasurer. So that's essentially it. So I'm just making a motion to update our board investment policy.
Keldy, this is David. Just to make note, this was also reviewed by the finance committee. I mean, by the investment committee and approved by the committee with the recommendation to the board.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion about the updated board investment policy?
So just go ahead.
I have a question. When David said investment committee, can you elaborate on that? What investment committee?
Sure, I can elaborate. Essentially, the investment committee, because we don't have one at this point in time, was the designated executive committee at this point. So the next treasurer would have the authority to decide if they want to include the executive committee as the investment committee and then advise to the executive committee, or the treasurer can decide if the investment committee is also just the executive committee.
So you're telling me that the executive committee decide to become their investment committee, and like we never heard about this, the rest of the board?
Well, previously it's always been the case at this point in time as per our policy. But there's also the option. Sorry.
Yeah, it feels like there's an option that it can be made up differently, but for this purpose, we left it as just the executive committee, in large part because we just needed to approve these. Most of this is really process that are required by the bank in order to be able to approve, David. We have to have all these things that are entered into our meetings so that it's all legitimate. We did not make any changes to the investment policy, McMillan. We just reviewed it.
Well, okay, well, it sounds like a conflict of interest to me, to be honest with you, but that's all I'm gonna say.
How so?
I just don't think that decisions should be made without informing the rest of the board. I mean, that's not transparency to me, So, even if not a big change was made, at the very least, I'm hearing this for the first time now. So I feel sort of kind of left out of the whole process. Why did I even run for this board if I am not even going to be informed about little minutia things like documentation, So
We did not, again, this is just trying to get David legalized and I's that have to be dotted and T's that have to be crossed. So we just reviewed it. You know, everybody, the board knows that the executive committee meets about once a month to take care of these type of housekeeping issues. The next board can decide if they want to hear more of these details. Absolutely. For this process, we wanted to just do it quickly. So we reviewed it. We made no substantive changes at all. And it just needs to be, it needs the full board approval, which is why we're bringing it to you here. And this is the perfect place to ask any questions that you want to ask. The upshot was that we did not make any changes. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to add one thing here, McNally. One of the discussions that we had in the executive committee discussion about this was the need to form a committee of folks that have some background in finances, who would be able to like make the decisions that we need in order to make our investments. So moving forward, I mean, that's definitely top of mind for me to figure out how can we form a committee with people that have, with journalists that have the expertise in this area, whether they're on the business beat, the finance beat, et cetera, but making sure that we, you know, hear from people who have that experience.
Well, if I recall correctly, when I got elected and we all got elected, the ones that got elected, that was one of my recommendations, to form a number of committees. And I think that we had a financial committee. Keldy, didn't we meet once? That was a while back.
Yes, I did. Yes, there was one that I had that we had with a couple. It was a former. I don't have all the names. So I don't want to like over. I don't want to misstate, but essentially, yes. To your point, we did have one meeting. Was actually two. And that was to look at I'm sorry, it was to look at the, I wanted to send an email about the our financial at that point. And the only reason we didn't, it was not sent is because not all our accounts were closed out at that point in time. And before I had a chance to even send it out, wanted to send it out a second time, the executive director at the time resigned. So everything got tabled at that point in time.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember who was participating in that committee too.
Again, McNally, we need to formalize it moving forward, so that that's one of the first committees that gets assigned. I do feel like we gave the entire board notice. It was on the agenda that we sent out, you know, about a month ago. David sent out all the documentations on this, including the investment policy. So I apologize if we feel that it was sprung on you, but we were public about that. Was one of the things that we were going to be discussing. But your point is well taken, and I urge the next board to whoever the next treasurer is to help put together a committee that has some good expertise on it, as Yvette spoke about.
You know, and the downsides of that, and I know that we probably have some Latinos out there, there are not a lot of Latinos covering those areas. We're gonna have to really tap into whatever few Latinos that we have covering financial institutions that have the expertise on that, because I know IRE has a committee and we have an endowment and we protect that endowment, you know, furiously. So, and that was one of the things that I did when I got elected, that I recommended all these committees, and you know, not all of them were implemented. So, so I'm glad that we're talking about this right now, because moving forward, we need to do that.
Is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor of approving the board investment policy? Okay, if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and do a vote. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. We had planned to discuss the donation, gift, and grant acceptance policy, but at the request of our ED, we are tabling that. We still need to work on that just a little bit more before we can bring it up to the board. And so we're gonna go ahead and table that one. In fact, McNally, to your point, one of the reasons we're tabling it is because we realized we did not send this one to the board, and we want the board to be able to look at it and review it ahead of time. So we are tabling that discussion. I will now, Keldy, we'll keep Keldy up on the dais, so to speak, to give us our financial report.
Thanks, Nora. I can share it. Is it possible for me to share the screen so that I can show people what I'm looking at as well? Is that possible? Or if not, yes. I can just make a brief comment.
You can share the screen, Keldy.
Okay. Let's see how this works. All right, cool. Can everybody see this? Oh, wait, no. Everybody see everybody see what I'm seeing? Okay, cool. All right, so we'll start with no, we'll do this, the budget versus actual at this point. So as for most part, in terms of income, you know, a lot of it is still pending at this point because, you know, a lot of our income does come from the conference. So it's still in flux at this point, but what I will talk about is some of the money that we get in like stuff that's not conference related. So that's advertising. We are part of Journalism Next. So we get, that's essentially what people post, employers post jobs, and we get money, we get money from that. So we're almost on par of what we were supposed to be getting. And another one is grants. At this point, we're still, we're ahead. I don't have the exact the donations of what we've gotten so far. I will have that by our next meeting. I don't remember, I don't have that at the top of my head. And when I wanted to send an email to our account to find out, it had completely crossed my mind. It completely slipped my mind. So my apologies for that. Essentially with the investment, so we are down on this, and the reason is if my understanding is correct, we have still some of our gains are from the market, due to the market. So we have a lot of we're down just essentially because of what's some stuff that we had invested. It's down. Yeah, that's essentially at this point. And in terms of membership dues, we had this one. I'm trying to figure out, and I want to see if David, you can help at least clarify for me. Our membership dues, these are when we put this together. Yes, when I helped put this together, this was to make sure that we kept it on par with what we had last year. I know that we may very well adjust this after the conference, but Dave, I wanted to see, is there something that you could add to this particular one? No?
Correct. The bulk of our new members come in, if not right before convention, that are new members, and then renewals in the fall. So we'll see a greater change as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. So we're still okay. So we're still ahead in terms of income. That's, like I said, we probably will be ahead after the conference. It's still going to take a bit because we're still going to have to figure out what kind of revenue we bring in from the conference, and any possible grants that we receive after that. And in terms of our expenses, they're pretty much, it's not really much in key that I wanted to touch on in particular. There's not really, not really too much I really want to, touch on, just because of the fact that most of it is still the same. Is there a question that anybody wants to ask that I can, probably answer if possible? No? Okay. In terms of our profit and loss, so I just wanted to say there's one that I wanted to bring up because we had talked about this earlier. No, actually, no, that's, no, this is not it, no. I think that's all I have to report with this in terms of our finances. We are in the process of being audited. So numbers, not for 2022, but numbers from 2021 may change, but this is all tentative at this point. So hopefully between now and I believe end of May, we will probably be done with our audit. So yeah, that's all I have at this point to report with our finances.
Anyone have any questions for Keldy?
Just to clarify, Keldy, when you say audited, you're talking about our internal audit, right? Not an IRS audit.
No, it's our internal audit. No, it's our audit that we do every year that looks at our books and our finances. So that's essentially what I mean. No, not the IRS. To my knowledge, they have not given me a call or emailed me.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Keldy. And now the long-awaited moment, drum roll, kidding. We'll hear from our executive director, David Peña Jr.
Thank you, Nora, and thank you, Keldy. First of all, it's a pleasure to be on this call as the leader of your organization as members. It's been an exciting and challenging 6 weeks, but I was prepared, and it's been a time where I think a lot of the relationships in the history that the organization have really come forth and sort of stepped up and helped me out or informed me or shared knowledge that for me has been valuable as I begun my journey with the organization. And at the same time, I think that as we're undergoing our strategic planning, it's going to sort of set the foundation. But with that said, we have some amazing chapter leaders, board, and also our staff, which has been key to sort of creating and solidifying the infrastructure. And that's where some of these corporate resolutions and updating of documents, and I won't go too much into it, but some of the documents had not been updated since 2005. So just wanted to share that so that from an issue of transparency, that these are not issues and resolutions that we as an organization take lightly, but they are documents that have to be updated in order to bring the organization forth. So thank you for all the board members who have been involved in sort of updating those resolutions and the policies. And we have other policies that are still coming up as part of our strategic plan. But we as the board members that I've worked with and myself are committed to transparency and sharing with everybody the challenges, but also the opportunities that the new strategy and myself bring to the organization. So it's been a challenge, but it's been a good challenge, and so that you can rest assured that the organization, we're building on the foundation. But once we have the strategic plan done, and you'll be updated on everything else that we're doing internally to solidify the organization and take it to the next level. So thank you to all the board members that have stepped up and have volunteered and have provided their knowledge and time and wisdom to some of these processes that sometimes the greater board will never know about, because they're sort of the day-to-day things that we've within the organization as leaders and as staff have to take care of in order to bring the organization updated, whether it's technology, whether it be legal, whether it be financial, all that is being taken care of. And at some point I will provide full accounting of everything that has been done. And in many ways you'll be surprised, but in a good way, for those updates. So thank you for that sort of bit of update. During the last 6 weeks, I've also had a lot of conversations with fellow journalism organizations, over 12 organizations, and many of those who stepped up and reached out to me after the press release and my announcement to want to work with us. And they've offered their assistance from a leader to leader personally, which has been reassuring for me, but also from an organizational perspective. How can we work together? How can we continue to build on the relationships on diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility? And so those have been really positive conversations as we begin to formulate MOUs or build on current relationships that exist. So I've been really encouraged from that standpoint with our fellow journalism organizations. And we've even had conversations about supporting each other's sort of mid-career professionals so that we can begin to prepare the next generation of journalism executives within the nonprofit sector, so that we are able to build on that and our own teams excel and showcase some of the talent that we currently have within our ranks as staff. On the sponsor side, I've had between BA and I probably over 26 conversations with sponsors, and not only for convention, but these are also sort of revisiting the relationships that we have as we partner with some of these corporate partners, and also the foundations, which I'll speak to in a little bit. And the sort of greater focus from me, aside from solidifying the infrastructure, is also taking a look at what our offerings are that are going to complement the strategic plan. And that has been sort of taking a look at what we offer, and are we truly just sort of offering the technical training and opportunities for our members, or are we expanding beyond that? And so that part of that expansion, or what I call the slight pivot of what we have and what we will be offering over the next year and going forward, is sort of strategic components that focus not only on the technical training, but also on health and wellness of our journalist members. And that includes mental health, career enhancement, and that includes from a personal career, wealth development, and also journalist safety and privacy. So sort of expanding our areas of what we're offering, or really aligning with what our mission, and taking our members and journalists on what I would call sort of the progressive journey of their career, starting from college students, emerging journalists, to mid-career. And are we offering the proper resources and opportunities at mid-career to excel? And then also reaching out and re-engaging with our members at the executive and management level, because that's where sort of these opportunities are going to be created to elevate our members, to build that network to go forward. And so you may ask, what does that look like? And so we're expanding the programs on the student collegiate level, and emerging journalists will be offering some student summits in the spring. But also we've secured some funding to offer year-round career development for our student members, so that they get the proper training that goes beyond what they get at school. So we'll be offering 6 new workshops in the next 9 months on career development. And then in the spring or late winter, we'll be promoting and sharing, and some of this is we're working with some partners, 2 regional summits, which will be sort of one-day conferences on the East and the West Coast that are really focused on our students, because many of them do not attend our convention. So this is our way, our taking the organization out to the community, engaging with our university partners, our chapters at the local level, support of the professional levels, and developing a robust program that involves panel discussions on career, individual workshops on time management, resume interview, and then ending the day with the career fair. So that's something that we're already in the development phases of selecting the schools and working. So if you're a chapter leader, we'll be reaching out to you for that engagement. On the mid-career, are we preparing our members? And I know some of the media and journalism organizations, they have internal trainings, but what can we do, whether it be connecting individuals or utilizing technology to vet some of our mid-level individuals who are prepared to take leadership and management roles, and for us to showcase those members and share as part of our conversations with our partners that we have talent within our organization and we're willing to share that talent with them in their search for these positions. And one of the things that we're sort of, we tested this last month, and we're sort of looking at targeted issue briefings for our members on specific topics, so that we offer our members an opportunity to gain the knowledge, access individuals that they can interview as part of their jobs, or just data that they can utilize. Last month, we were able to work together sort of on an issue briefing related to bringing together journalists who cover entertainment on specific to the Garcias, the HBO show, which was entirely Latino cast, a Latino director, producer. So that was our first opportunity, and we'll be expanding some of those issue briefings and engaging with you all as board members so that you all can be part of those conversations and also participate, and possibly looking at issue briefings on technology, business, religion, and how journalism covers religion. And those will be third-party briefings, not from sponsors, not corporate pitches, but just sort of as resources that you all as members can partake in. And then at the executive management level, I've been having conversations with some of our partners and some of our Latino leaders who are in management roles, and finding out why are they not members of our organization, and they're happy to share that 10 years ago they were active, 15 years they were active. And one of the things that they've asked of us, and is something that I really want to work with, they would like to have some sort of for us to be the convener at an executive level, so that executives come meet other executives, network, and build that network. So that's one area that they really would like, with a third-party facilitator. So it's not one company leading or anybody that works for a company, sort of an independent third party. We convene them, a facilitator that where they can have intimate and private conversations about their industry or how they can help each other and mentor. So those are all sort of the conversations, the slide pivoting and focusing on programming. And I'm also sort of, have this, this idea file where, as you as board members, please do not feel that I have not acted on some of your ideas and just sort of like, I need to put them in a basket for the meantime until I focus. So that, the leveraging on technology and freelancers and mentorships are all opportunities that, for me, I want to try and wrap them into some larger grant that we go after. But for right now, please do not feel that whatever ideas you're sharing with me, I'm in no way ignoring. They're just in that idea basket right now that sort of, I don't want to say we park it there, because in many ways, legislatively, when you park something, it goes to a committee to die. That's, I just put it on a basket for sort of future opportunities. And I'll pause right there for any quick questions, because I know I'm speaking really fast because I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. Any questions at this point?
David, do you have someone in terms of like a foundation or a potential funder for some of these already? Can you talk a little bit about the potential for to tap funding to support this, to expand this?
So a great segue to my foundation update. So to answer your question, I don't have a larger foundation where we would encompass a sort of a technology grant that encompasses some of these softwares or systems. So any ideas that you would have would be great. We are having some conversations, and it's a great reflection of the work that y'all are doing and our national office is doing, that we have a couple of foundations who have reached out to us that they want to have a conversation. And one of those sort of is this week, I received an email from the MacArthur Foundation. They want to have a conversation. They see what we're doing. But on the foundation side, we have some great relationships with some of the foundations that have given us money in the past and supported some of our programs, but we want to be with our strategic plan and some of the ideas that we're bringing forth is really be strategic about who we ask or who we sort of share of the programs that we're trying to do or pitch the programs that we're trying to do. So from my standpoint, I welcome all the conversations with our foundations, our major foundations like, Knight, Ford, the Democracy. Those all continue to engage with us at some level. Some programs are ending, like the Border Narrative will be ending. So there'll be a slight drop on support from Ford. On the Democracy Fund, they're in the middle of a strategic analysis internally. So from this year, there's sort of a small dip, but they've already invited us to submit a grant in 2023. Recently, we've finalized the discussions with the Toyota Foundation, and that's part of funding for some of our student programs, some of convention, and also our Palabra initiative. So, and we also, and I'll speak a little bit later on when I talk about Palabra, about some grants that are coming in through Palabra. So that was a sort of a long answer about where we are with foundations, but any foundations that you come across, I want to have those conversations internally so that we're strategic about what we're asking for. What we don't want is sort of different asks from different parts of our organization if we're working sort of as a broader program for grants that could be possible as we move forward. Questions on the foundations?
Yes, I have a question of, when you said that we might bundle some of these initiatives for a specific grant that we may target in the future. For the rest of the board to know, I had recently sent like a preliminary proposal to David. Just a question that does apply, and the reason I'm asking is because of the proposal I sent you, but it does apply to other stuff too. If, the initial development would cost a couple $1,000s, like, $2,000 or $3,000, is that something we would need to wait for a specific grant for, or is that something that might potentially get started at least for the initial phase, so without any promises?
So ideally, and I would defer to the board leadership, but what I would say is that because it's not a sort of a budgetary, it's not in our current budget, it would have to be a separate allocation. So the pitch would be made to the full board for a new allocation for a specific to the program. That would be separate of, if we get a grant, that speeds it up. But from the board's perspective, they could say, yes, we're entertaining a $5,000 or $10,000 new allocation to our budget to fund this specific technology or software or program.
Cool, that's exactly what I was hoping to get answered. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
And there is precedent for that, Julio Cesar. The previous board voted to set aside funds to support Palabra. And then there was funding interest from other organizations after that. So it's basically saying we stand behind this idea. We're launching Palabra and we want to use our funds, but we expect there to be foundation money coming in to support it once we launch it. So we've done it before.
Perfect, thank you.
I would just say, Julio Cesar, to put together your proposal and share it ahead of time with the board via email, so that we have time to discuss it, even if it's email, before our next meeting in Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. For context, everyone, I thought this meeting was supposed to take place next Saturday. So yeah, thank you though.
No problem. Thank you. Moving on to scholarships, we actually awarded 32 scholarships this year for a total of 119,000. We had some amazing applicants and also the recipients. So we're really proud. That's a slight increase of $5,000 from last year to this year. Just as a sort of heads up, there's going to be a slight drop in scholarships. So we're going to sort of, we're already strategizing on how can we create opportunities for additional scholarships. And the reason is sort of the end of the Facebook scholarship funding that they provided multiple minority organizations. And so that is going away. We've been informed by Facebook that they will not be renewing any of the scholarship programs for the minority organizations. So we'll be looking at exploring other opportunities for scholarships. One idea that we've sort of looked at is possibly if the board of directors wanted to, within the board, fund a scholarship or two for student leaders that run our chapters, and that could be sort of self-funded. And so those are kind of some of the ideas that we'll have. Can we have executives? Can we have private entities provide scholarships to board of directors? But there will be a slight drop of $50,000, which Facebook provided. Was there a question? Sorry.
Actually, David, this is Blanca. Can you repeat the amount of the Facebook? Like it was a 3-year contract, right? And was it 50?
50,000.
50 over the 3 years, correct?
No, it was 250,000 over the 3 years. So it was
250,000 over the 3. Thank you.
Yeah.
Over 5
years. And this was the end of it. So they will not be renewing that aspect. So we'll be exploring other opportunities. And if you come across anybody who would like to create a scholarship in honor of someone or a company that would like to donate to the scholarship program, please put them in contact with myself or Leslie Ann on our team to work on those, because we really want to continue our program of scholarships because it's really had an impact on students over the years. And if you want to see the amazing students and who the recipients of our scholarships, they're on our website. So I encourage you all to take a look at the recipients, the university they came from. So there's some extremely qualified and talented individuals who have received scholarships on our behalf. And that's also another program that we sort of looking at from an alumni perspective of re-engaging is if we've awarded over the 36 years, over 900 scholarships, where are these individuals? Sort of re-engaging with them and finding out how their scholarship impacted their lives. So we'll be exploring some of those as part of our sort of looking back. Palabra. So Palabra update. Palabra has been an amazingly successful digital opportunity publication for us as an organization. And as the new named publisher, as part of my responsibility as executive director and the managing editor, we've been working really closely on its funding and its programs and how can we expand. And so some of the sort of numbers that I wanted to share with you is since 2019, Palabra, which is an internal initiative of NAHJ, has published over 200 original articles. So that's an amazing number of articles, has hired more than 100 reporters, photographers, videographers, illustrators, and copy editors and translators. So that's also the impact as an organization where we are engaging with freelancers who are members of our organization as part of the Palabra initiative as we continue to sort of build on that. Valeria Fernandez is our managing editor full-time. She was out on pregnancy leave towards the end of the year. She is back. We've also begun to sort of expand on the partnerships that we have and how some of those partnerships can generate revenue for Palabra as we expand some of our programming. We have had funding from Ford and Toyota as sort of and the board's allocation as the initial steps of Palabra. As of sort of recently also, as an entity, we've signed contracts agreements with Palabra being the entity externally with Advanced Local that has generated, I believe, over $26,000 in revenue. We also have partnered recently or applied to be part of the Institute for Nonprofit News as a nonprofit entity and share some of our network of freelancers and also our stories beyond. We've also signed an agreement with Microsoft News. And actually, let me back up. So with Advanced Local, our articles our stories featured are reaching over 16 million people. So that's sort of the reach of our own features that are going beyond. So it's not a newsletter. It is a digital publication of NAHJ as we begin to sort of showcase it more as part of internal programs. It's not its own isolated. So the next one is with Microsoft News, where it's also features some of our stories through Microsoft News and their global. And also locally, part of what we're working on, trying to sort of incorporate the findings and stories of the border narrative that was funded by the Ford Foundation and incorporate some of those stories and engagement through Palabra. And so we'll be featured some of the stories from the grant, the outcomes, and some of the stories of individuals that participated in the border narrative through our Palabra website, and then some of the featured stories through our Palabra features. We also recently, Valeria and I are working on, it's already been approved, but we're finalizing an application through, I think it's Heising Simmons Foundation. They'll be providing $10,000 to send some of our contributors from Palabra to our convention. So that's also a great way for us to support our freelancers and feature writers and have them come to our convention, engage with the broader audience. So that's something that we are excited about, that we'll be sending some of our contributors. We're also finalizing our application with Toyota, which has additional funding for sort of the third component of Palabra, and it is podcasts. And the podcast will not only be podcasts interviewing and featuring some of our sort of the individuals who the stories are about, but also the journalists and their journey while creating this feature. And so that's part of engaging with journalists to tell their story, how they were impacted by a story, how they were not, what was their journey, how did they end up. So that is the third component that we'll be developing and creating some podcasts and be shared with our partners and global audience. So excited about Palabra because it sort of begins to intertwine and have a greater impact within our membership. Any questions? Lot to digest.
I have a question. Just taking a step back, I'm just curious about the Facebook decision on renewing the contract, not with this organization, but different minorities organizations. They don't have to, but they explain like why or nothing.
Nope, there was, I just reached out to them and said, will you be renewing this scholarship? And they said, we will not be renewing this program.
I have a problem. I have a problem with Facebook. I'm not going to do this. I talked about it during the last meeting, but I have a problem with Facebook. So.
Well, we have beyond the scholarships, we have no formal relationship with Facebook.
Yeah, I also have some issues with Facebook, but in that same direction, this decision like add to the opinion that I have on Facebook. So
actually, McNally, the David reached out because of a lot of the concerns that you had been raising and some of our board members had raised previously. So we were trying to assess where do things stand with Facebook, because we were pretty sure that was the end of our formal relationship with him. And I have heard from members who don't want us associating with them. So that was one of the reasons that David was even, checking where things stood and where things stand. Of course, David is coming into this from an ED perspective and and wanting to know how are we going to replace that money? But that's what sparked that situation.
And I come from a journalist perspective who has a code of ethics that I follow to the T.
Absolutely.
And I just really think Facebook has thrived in white supremacy, and white supremacy hate us. We are people of color. So, and I already talked about this in the last meeting, so I'm not gonna rehash.
No, and we appreciate your input and all the boards, and that's part of the reason that I tabled the gift and grant policy that I'd like the full board to consider is beyond Facebook for us to have an actual policy. And I spoke about this during my interview with the full board, is having a formalized policy by which the board staff evaluates partnerships, donations that we receive. I mean, and those are not just the foundation's donations, but like if someone wants to give us a car, do we take the car? What do we do with it? Does someone want to donate land and someone died? All those are sort of part of that donation policy, but the corporate part of sponsor and donations is part of that policy. And so I tabled it because I feel that everybody, we're going to circulate it for y'all to have an opportunity to share your opinion. Ultimately, the board has the decision to say that is our policy and that's what we vet. What I don't want as executive director is sort of like if two board members don't like, it's for the greater organization, and there will be a policy by which we can review and submit those contracts for approval. So that's forthcoming.
It is a great idea. I mean, I'm a member of IRE, and we just don't take money, but it's different because it's a different group. We just don't take money from companies because our members investigate companies. So yeah, having a policy is a really good idea. So I applaud you for that.
Okay, thank you. And so I'll send that out, and I'll share it also with other members that may be interested. The sort of anchor draft that I've created comes out from the Center of Nonprofit. So it's it's not a journalism policy, it's sort of a greater policy, but then we need to narrow it down based on what our organization and mission is. So definitely an opportunity for us to share that so that we're all on the same page. And if you all ask, do you all accept, money from, pharmaceuticals? We say yes or no. Do we have, so we'll have a very clear understanding of what money we accept and under what circumstances. So definitely that is forthcoming. And that's why I asked Nora that policy be tabled until further discussion. Okay, thank you. Moving on to sort of the membership and demographics, Nora did share that we're at about 4,100 members right now. I want also to share with the board and some of the board members who have already been engaged with at this point on sort of looking at our membership internally. We do have, we're about to bring on 2 organizational interns for the summer that will be working with our team. And one of the goals is to clear up membership because though we know the number of members, it's sort of at a micro level understanding, because that kind of reflects on what programs we're offering. So we're looking at, and just as an example of sort of, and I hate to say clean up the membership, but it's more sort of get clarity of where these areas are. Because just as an example, out of the 4,100 members, we have 1,300 members who didn't answer the gender question. I mean, obviously we can see if his name is Jose, that, but they have to self-identify. So if they didn't answer that question, that also allows for, like, if we have a Latina leadership program, do we send it to everybody? Do we micro market? So we're looking at the data and trying to clear, and we've begun that process, and we had about 200 responses on sending individuals emails, and Unwin has done a great job, and Yaneth, in asking, please complete your profile. At the very minute, please complete your profile. So if you receive that email, then you might be one of the ones that did not complete the profile. And some of the questions on, what type of organization do you work for? What is your focus of work? Broadcast, media, print, because that would inform also some of the programs. If we're like, okay, so we have 100 individuals who are in photographers. So then does that inform the next convention? Can we have a session on, for photographers? So I want to be able to kind of drill down on that membership. And aside from that, also, we've begun to have sort of those efforts when we've had requests on sort of which questions we ask on ethnicity or race. And so just as an example of a slight sort of increase on having clarity in that data is that I think we were at 40 some individual members who had self-identified as Afro-Latino. After doing that initial reach, we're almost at 100 members who now, we can say that they self-identified as Afro-Latino. So those are some of the efforts on membership that we really want to be able to create that information and be comfortable that the information we're sharing with you all is at least as close as we can get it, so that we can create a one-pager that informs that you all can share digitally on what the organization looks, what states they come from. I think we have a presence in over 22 countries where we have a member, at least one member in a country, that we have presence. So that kind of informs also how we represent our organization, that, we are a national network with a global reach. And so as we begin to then, though we have one anchor person in that country, can we get additional individuals? Can they share information that we share with them? That's all kind of looking at our membership and how we split those, the data itself, but not having information, even in industry, there's 560 individuals who didn't fill out in their profile what industry they worked in. Primary language, there's 1,200 people who didn't, what primary language. So there's some stuff that we just really want to focus on in order to clarify who we are as an organization and who we serve. And are they engaged beyond members 1 year or 3 years or 5 years? Those is data that's important to us. Any questions on membership data?
I have a question, David. Are we on the questionnaire? Have we updated that to include LGBTQ, non-binary? I mean, we have to move up with the times.
Correct.
Have we done that?
Yes, but we will be taking a second look, and we'd love to share with you what are we asking further beyond those two which you shared. But do we really need to ask what type of media they're in? Maybe now it's a different question. So that's one of the things, is reviewing that questionnaire will be the next step also that we will be taking a look, because also having 12 questions or 15 questions, is it too much? Would 10 questions be appropriate, and then do a follow-up for additional questions? We're taking a look at all that.
Thank you.
Now moving on to convention. So right now we have 190 registrants for convention. That's according to the data that NAHJ provided for us. As for early registration just ended on Monday. So that was sort of the first step. And according to NAHJ, we're in line with previous years in our registration. We have 59 companies who are committed. From NAHJ, we have 7 proposals that are out there, and I want to thank BA for helping coordinate the efforts and the outreach on the companies, but that's our side, sort of our perspectives for our programs. We have 7, we had meetings, and they've asked for formal proposals, and we've shared the proposals to them, so those are out. We've asked them that this coming week that they complete, either give us a verbal yes or no, and then followed by an agreement, so we're excited about that. I did want to share a couple of things with the board. I know that many of y'all, I think 2 individuals or 3 individuals have not completed their registration. So just as a reminder, let us know if you're having difficulties on the registration. I do need separately and directly your arrival and departure so that we can plan appropriately, because we were hoping to have a tour of local, by invitation, they invited us to do a tour of a local TV station the day before, if that's not possible, and also the board transition meeting on Sunday. So knowing your arrival and departure is important for me as we begin to, Nora and I plan the agenda. Also, if you have not booked your flights, please do, because flights are up to $700 and $800 right now for summer flights. And so please take a look at your flights, book it. Due to COVID restrictions, you may be able to change it if something changes, but you need to book your flights, because I believe one of our, I heard that one flight was $790 from the East Coast to Las Vegas. So, that's getting kind of out there. And then just to confirm, I am taking care of your reservations as board members for the hotel rooms. So, and that also informs your arrival and departure. So please let me know so that I can submit to the board, and then I'll get you all, as we get closer, the reservation number for the hotel rooms. So those are my points that are important. Did I miss any update? Oh, just sort of as a looking forward, because I don't have enough work. I'm doing a site visit next week in Miami for next year's convention. So we're already starting to plan next year's convention. So we'll be in Miami in July. We'll be releasing the exact dates around this year's convention, but I'll do the site visit this coming week in Miami. So that is my update. Any questions? A lot of stuff.
Any questions for David?
I'm not sure if this is just for David, because I know there's board members involved in this as well, but we'll be getting an update on the workshop process. I am getting questions from members who submitted ideas, and they're just wondering about the timeline.
Yes, Yvette, that's where we're moving towards. That's the next item on the agenda. So thank you, David, for that thorough update and for all the work you're doing to organize us internally so that we are efficient and transparent. So I want to thank you. And I also especially want to thank the rest of your team and the rest of our staff for doing just amazing work through behind the scenes. You guys really keep it going. So definitely want to send kudos to you and to Leslie Ann, Yaneth, and Yunuen. Wonderful job, all of you. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and segue and continue the discussion of the convention. We've got some great board members who have been doing our program co-chairs, Keldy, Ortiz, and McNally Torres. So McNally.
Let me just give an update really quickly because we don't have that much to update. So we're working on the programming. We have selected sessions and training, but still there are some holes that we are working with the other co-chairs from NAHJ. We are going to start, according to the timeline, reaching out to folks within the next few weeks to let them know, whether your session was rejected or accepted. Thank you so much for your patience and bearing with us. I've gotten a bunch of emails and people reaching out to me via social media. We're still working on some things, and I wanted to thank the staff too, because the staff have been amazing and they hunkered down for 7 months while we were looking for the ED, but also working on the programming and for the conference. Without your work, we could not do half of the things that we do. So that's pretty much it, unless Keldy has anything else to add.
No, it's been, these last 7 months have been a lot planning this conference, but we are in a home stretch. So hopefully, as Kelly mentioned, within the next couple of weeks, you'll find out, those who are in this movement find out if your panel was accepted. And we should be releasing the full schedule. If it's not next, I believe sometime next month, or within the next month is my understanding that we should be submitting the full public sessions and possible plenaries will be released. So that's all we have at this point. And book your flight if you haven't already, because it is expensive.
I booked mine.
Okay, any questions, further questions about the convention? I do know that the next, can somebody remind me when the next deadline is for early bird? Because the early bird is already gone, but we still have another one before it goes up to full price. So
it's July.
I do have a question on the process in the process of registering for the conference. They ask you for information about your vaccination status, and this is like through a third party. Some members have been asking what happens with that information from that third party. I don't know if anyone on the staff knows the answer to that, but I think we should find out for the members.
I don't know the answer, and I don't know if David knows it, but we'll do a little bit of homework. I will say that CLEAR, the agency that we're using, is pretty well established. They've actually been around pre-pandemic. Other folks have used them. I think they help facilitate, like, if you're flying. I know I went through them for the ACES, Society of Editing, used them as well. So I don't know if they're the premier or they're the only one, but they are doing handling a big chunk of this type of convention immunization clearance. So, but we'll do a little bit more homework and get back to you guys.
I'll follow up with that on information from CLEAR specific to our conference. I know that if you downloaded the app and you have a CLEAR account, You can utilize that app going forward for events and other programs, but I'll ask on specific to ours in case you don't want Clear and you don't have Clear, because Nora's correct. So Clear from a functional standpoint used to be only at mid-sized airports going back, I want to say probably 7 or 8 years that I've had Clear in small to mid-size. Now, after the pandemic, they've expanded at most major airports and now events. And there's some states also that utilize the app for football games and other major where you already have it in there. But I'll find out specific to our convention what that information, and if that is deleted in mass or if you're given the option to delete it yourself. But thank you for the question.
The Spurs use them. That's why I had to download it like 2 years ago for the Spurs to attend a Spurs game.
Spurs.
Go Spurs.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Leslie Ann is saying July 1st is pre-registration deadline. And next week, within the next week and a half, the status of your workshop, if you've been accepted or not, will also be going out those notices. So heads up.
Yeah. All right. We are about midway, well, more than midway through. We're almost done. We just have to hear from a couple of task force reports, and then we'll hear from the regional directors. We'll go ahead and hear first from the investigative task force, which is co-chaired by Yvette and McNally.
McNally, did you want to go first?
Sure. Well, we have been very busy at one of the subcommittees, the data investigative reporters, and we have worked towards meeting sessions, investigative sessions for the conference. And we also have a webinar coming up next weekend. Thank you so much for the staff helping us on that, and also for the members who volunteer on this subcommittee, especially Emmanuel. We have a webinar coming up on data and documents that you need to know. And we are talking about having another webinar before the conference, more towards the early career folks about, you know, what's the proper attire, all these things. Somebody brought this up to me that, you know, we want to offer that for our members. If any board members here want to participate on this to get tips, please reach out to me because that will be good, you know. So that's pretty much what we have been doing at this the task force on this subcommittee, and you know, I take any questions. Anybody wants to join the task force, please reach out. I'm very available on social media, and I'm always recruiting folks to come in and help out. So thank you.
Hey, McNally, just for the minutes, I didn't understand. Did you say? I know you have the webinar event on documents and data coming up next weekend, and then you have another, or you're talking about having one on, what was it about prior to the
proper attire, how to dress for an interview, how to dress for the conference, you know. And you might think that these things are people should know this, but somehow sometimes, you know, doesn't work that way for some folks. So we just want to give our members, especially our young early career members, you know, the tools they need to succeed. So they know that there are some things that you should not wear when you go to an interview, and, you know, and things
not
that you
just
should
for
not do. You know,
also on the job.
Yeah, and all those things. So so I really welcome anybody here who would like to be a speaker for this to reach out to me, because I think that we need to get people there and have these discussions. And I have been in situations at the conference where I see people dressing a certain way that is just really raise an eyebrow. And you know, we want to have a conversation, and we'll see what happens. And that was Janet's idea, by the way. I'm not taking credit for this. It was her idea. Janet.
Thank you. It's an important one. I can't tell you how often I have to have that conversation with an intern, a summer intern. I have to bring them in to say, yeah, that's not appropriate work attire.
That's good for the club.
So thank you. Thank you much. Yvette, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I'll be short. Just want to reiterate McNally's point about folks who want to join. I wanted to say you don't have to be an investigative reporter or editor to be part of the task force. If you aspire to be, want to learn from, you know, the members that are part of the task force, please let us know, because we want this to be a place where we can address some of the obstacles that the task force is trying to fix. And so if you can come to us with issues that you've had in your newsroom around trying to join the investigative team, trying to get on the investigative track, trying to be an investigative editor, that perspective will really help us. We also need, so I chair the subcommittee on management, and one of the things that I would like to do is expand the group that's part of the subcommittee, because the group has been meeting with editors to talk about the lack of diversity on their investigative teams. And it's a hard thing to juggle for all of us. You know, we're all working journalists. The more people that we have as part of this group to have these conversations, these are dialogues where we're, number one, trying to find out how diverse is your investigative team. We're asking these managers to fill out surveys, and the academic subcommittee is going to put all of that together into a white paper. But in order to do that, we need to have these conversations first. So if you're willing to volunteer to be part of the subcommittee, please let us know. We had meetings in January. I've been focused on getting the plan done. So we've been on hold with those meetings these last couple of months, but we're going to start up again. Number one, following up with the folks that we've already met with, but number two, setting up new meetings. So if you have suggestions for news organizations, we have a group of about 10 that we're aiming for to complete this year. But if anyone else needs to be added to the list, the working group that is having these meetings with the editors will definitely add that to it. So that's about it on my end. The other thing we are working to do is publish a series of essays from members of the task force about those challenges that we've faced working on investigative teams. If you would like to write one of those essays, please get in touch with me. We're going to create a schedule to publish these, possibly with like an organization like Pointer. And
they want the essays. They already said that, right, BA? Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct, yes.
So we have some of those essays done. The members of the task force are writing and editing them, but if you're interested in writing one of those, please let us know as well. So that's it on my end.
And by the way, as we were talking about Facebook, I got members reaching out to me and thanking me for voicing my concerns.
Thank you. Thanks to you both. Next, we will hear from Keldy, who is chairing co-chairing the Afro-Latino Task Force.
Hi, I'll also be brief with this, with my report. Essentially, we just gave out the scholarship, the Ada Vigo scholarship. She was a journalist that passed away. She was from Peru. We gave that out to Maya Brown. She is graduating from Stony Brook University and is going to NYU. And actually, I met her last week at an SPJ event at Stony Brook, and she was telling us that she got a full ride because of her scholarship. She was able to not only she was appreciative, and also helped her pay her way full to go to NYU. So I was definitely glad to see that scholarship go to her, and that it made a difference in her, seeing if she was going to have to pay or not. So I was really appreciative. And also that there were some people that did, apply to be considered for that scholarship. I'm happy to see that there were others that did get the that received another scholarship. One by the name of Natalie Morito. She's a rising junior at University of Illinois, and she got a scholarship ads for the Ruben Salazar Scholarship. So I was really glad to see that, even though we had people that didn't get the scholarship, they were able to be funneled and get other opportunities, which, at the end, we want to see people just get opportunities to get, to be considered, if they're not considered, to get considered for other scholarships and get money. So it's really appreciative. And also, I know the last thing I wanted to say is that we are, there was a proposal made for the conference talking about for Latinos and in journalism and just in media, that will more than likely be that's a session. I don't know. I probably more likely will be a plenary. I don't have any more information on that as of yet because I wanted to see where that will go. But yeah, just wanted to let you all know about that. And that's really all I have to report on my end.
Wonderful. I think we're all going to be looking forward to that one, Keldy. Any questions from the rest of the board for Keldy? Okay, we'll move on to the regional director reports. So happy to call on our Region 1 director, David Cordero, because that post went vacant for so long. It's exciting to have someone like David representing Region 1 and doing some really amazing work. Go ahead, David.
Thank you so much, Nora. Buenas tardes a todos and good evening to all the members of the boards and all the members of NAHJ who are with us in this meeting. So during the first month of 2022, I have been working hand to hand with the board, the local board of the new professional chapter here in Puerto Rico. As a team, we have worked on the structure of the chapter, establishing a work calendar, and promoting the chapter. And then on May 4, just last week, we have our first formal event. It was a conference, Journalism and Ethics in Social Media, Periodismo y Ética en Redes Sociales, which was offered by Yolanda Ruiz Ceballos, who is a Colombian journalist and co-director of the Consultorio Ético de la Fundación Gabo, Ethic Office of the Gabo Foundation in Colombia. The activity was virtual. We had 87 participants among journalists, communicators, academics, and students. So we were very happy with the participation. The local board managed to raise 2,000 in sponsorships. So we have now like official starting budget on the chapter. We have journalistic coverage of the event and a publication on a newspaper. I'm gonna share with you the link on the chat. There you have it. So part of the purpose of that event was also to increase our number of members. So we offer a special membership to the participants, and we are looking forward to add members to the chapter and the organization. And so the professional chapter board is doing a great job, and I want to acknowledge that and congratulate them. We're now working on the next activities, including a full day workshop with 2 sessions on different topics. And we're working on that with Janet. And I have also been in communication with the leaders of the student chapters. They are preparing for change in their board members because some or most of their members are graduating this year. And I also recognize their effort trying to maintain the calendar of activities. Some of them have shared with me the challenge that the COVID-19 pandemic has posed for them and their meetings. So we continue to communicate with them to help them in any way possible. And as I had mentioned in a previous meeting, I also, one of the goals that I have as a director is establishing communication with journalists and communicators in the US Virgin Islands. So I'm still working on that. And that's what I have for now.
Thank you, David. Congratulations on establishing that chapter, and we're really excited that that you guys are really trying to do some good work there and have an impact on your community. Felicidades.
Muchas gracias.
Next, we will hear from Region 3 Director Melissa Macaya.
Hi, everyone from rainy Washington, D.C. Apologies if it's very dark over here. It's just pouring. Thank you to our members for joining us today. I'll keep it super brief and just give you all an overview of what our DC and Philly chapters have been up to this winter and spring, and a bit of a look ahead of what they're planning for the summer. So kicking us off with our DC chapter, they've continued to stay active, hosting both virtual and in-person events despite of the pandemic, but now as things are opening up, they're really looking to continue their influence in different spaces. In March, they held several events. They had a roundtable with Senator Padilla of California. It was on the record roundtable and a Q&A session, a really fruitful discussion ahead of the midterms. Then they did a joint panel later on in March with U.S. Representative Adriano Espaillat of New York and the CEO of the News Literacy Project. This was a really great discussion about different issues that Latinos are facing with regards to misinformation in the pandemic and ahead of the midterm elections. So it was a really great event that we did. Then they also did an event with the News Literacy Project again, but this time with students. They spoke to local students of color. Several of our chapter leaders and also chapter members talked a little bit about their reporting process, how to spot Spanish and English language misinformation online. And the News Literacy Project is a national education nonprofit that offers nonpartisan programs that teach students and the public how to know what to believe online. So it was a really great discussion. I wanted to give a special shout out to Jenny Vasquez from NBC News, who serves as our DC at large officer. She's been really great at making sure that we have a presence on Capitol Hill and that we're partnering with other organizations to make sure we have a voice of our members and are asking questions of those lawmakers in office. Oops, sorry. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to our secretary, Sylvia Foster Frau from the Washington Post, who's just been doing an extraordinary job with our chapter communications and helped put together those literacy projects. Looking ahead to the summer, the DC chapter is looking to do their yearly Noche de Periodistas fundraiser. If you are in the DC area, I really encourage you to come. This is the yearly fundraiser for scholarships to get funds and assistance to send members to the convention. They haven't set a date yet, but it usually will happen in either end of July, early August. So something to be on the lookout on your calendars. And then they also will have the Charlie Erickson supplement for interns this summer. This is a supplement that goes to interns coming to DC from across the country. As you know, DC is a very pricey city. So it helps partner them or match them with a mentor and also gives them some funds to help with expenses in the city. Moving on to our Philly chapter. This is a fairly new chapter. It kicked off during the pandemic and they just have been doing wonderful work. I'm so proud of how much they've been growing and the partnerships that they've been able to create in the city. They launched their new website. I encourage you to visit it. It's nhjphilly.org. They launched it this March. They've been working on this website for some time, and they've been doing a really great job of using social media and their website to inform journalists in the Philly area. On March 17th, they had an event with Al Dia News alongside a journalist called Lori Lizárraga, and it was a discussion about what are some discrimination issues that journalists of color, specific Latino journalists are facing in newsrooms. And she spoke a bit about her experience at 9 News, where she was laid off alongside 2 other Latinas. And it was just a really fruitful discussion of how can we support each other? What are some of the issues that journalists are facing in the Philly area? In terms of looking ahead to the summer, they continue to grow. They're hoping to send some of their members as well to the convention and have a presence there. And also are looking to partner with local universities. They've had students come to their events, but they're looking to see if they can get some local chapters in the area. I wanted to just give another shout out to Brian Zapata, who heads our Virginia Tech student chapter. And I'll note that our DC chapter has also been working with our American University and Maryland student chapter to help them continue to grow and reactivate as a new school year begins in the fall. And I think that that's what I have. And I just wanted to thank again the staff for all of their support, constant support to our local chapters and members.
Any questions for Melissa? All right, let's hear from Region 5, Nanette Sosa.
Hi there. I've been working with Loyola over in Louisiana and then continuing working with Arkansas at the University of Arkansas to set up student chapters. There's a big interest over at Loyola. Arkansas, of course, is its own unique area, but Monday I will Zoom with the director of Latino Studies at the university. She is la directora, her last name is Padilla. So I'll meet with her, Zoom, and see about getting the RSOs up to date and get the permissions. I want to thank Leslie Ann, who's been amazing in dealing with all my back and forth emails and answering those. So thank you so much, Leslie Ann. So those are the two biggest areas. I know I have Texas, they're so huge and they seem to run like on an auto machine. So thank you, Texas, for just being amazing as chapters for Region 5. Oklahoma is a little bit sparse there, and I look forward to tapping into that area. But right now, a little bit of focus on Louisiana and Arkansas with, as I had said earlier in the year, about at least getting some student chapters rolling in that area. I'm keeping it brief, and that's what I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nanette. And any questions for Nanette? Region 6, Valerie Mia Juarez, she could not be with us today. She's busy working. But she did send me a little bit of a written update, which I will go ahead and read a little bit from it. Valerie is with NBC 26 in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and she's covering 3 stories this morning. But she reports that there's a lot of action going on in the Midwest states that represent Region 6. A few weeks ago, at the end of April, the NAHJ Chicago chapter hosted their Primavera social event. It's essentially their scholarship fundraiser. The fundraiser was the chapter's first gathering in 2 years, so that made it all the more exciting for its members. The last time Valerie checked, they'd raised nearly $5,000. That money will go towards helping the future generation of journalists with their education-related expenses. Valerie reports that the turnout was great. It was a very successful event made possible by all the hard work and planning of the NAHJ Chicago chapter board. She said they really hustled to nail down sponsors and to coordinate the entire event. So congratulations to the Chicago chapter. Valerie reports that just recently the NAHJ Greater Cleveland chapter and the NAHJ Wisconsin chapter celebrated their 1-year anniversary. These are 2 chapters that were essentially established under Valerie's tenure when she first joined the board. So very exciting news that they've reached that milestone. She says that the Greater Cleveland chapter has really been working to create a footprint in the community, and they've been trying to raise awareness on important topics and also serving as experts and talking about some of these topics too within their community. She gave an example of their community involvement. She says in March, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District hosted the chapter for their Student Media Day conference. And their chapter president was the keynote speaker, Rosalind Muniz, and a couple of other members also spoke, Claudia Longo and Zaida Ortiz. And then she says that they also, just a few days ago, the Cleveland members worked with WKYC, the NBC affiliate, to help market, the NBC affiliate had their Hispanic Heritage Month promo nominated for an Emmy Award in 2 categories. So they're very excited about that. And that is the essence of her report. However, she did give me, if she had been here, she wanted to bring up an important topic that she wanted to make sure NAHJ was working to try to address, and that is the topic of retention. Journalists are leaving our industry left and right. She talks about the speculation that burnout is playing a really big, important role. She says many of us feel like this was their dream job and it's turning out just to be so much harder. She notes hardships like, pitching a story about the Latinx community and getting shot down. And she talks about how in many newsrooms, it seems like Hispanic Heritage Month is the only time that they want to take to highlight stories of interest and of importance to the Latino community. So she wanted to bring this up and hope put it on our radar. And I'm happy to say that we are, as you heard just earlier from our ED, David, we are definitely worried and want to try to do more to address the issue of Latinos leaving the industry and how we can help them to remain in the business and also to continue that climb up so that they're in those positions of power where they have the authority to greenlight stories that are pitched to them, particularly about our communities. So Valerie, we hear you. I know that we're also preparing some panels to deal with the issue of mental well-being and health. And I also want to point out that on our website, you can access Vita Activa. That's a free resource that's available to NAHJ members. They can help if you're in need of mental and emotional support or if you just want to talk. Please, if you're experiencing trauma, crisis, burnout, or stress, please make use of Vita Activa and get some help. So thank you, Valerie, for bringing this up. Next, we will go to Region 7, Johnny Cordova.
Hi, thank you. I wanted first to congratulate Yvette since she joined the Center for Public Integrity. And I know you're going to be starting your new job fairly soon. So congratulations, very happy and very excited about the news. We have several people, I think, in our team that are newsmakers, and Yvette is one of them because of her new job. So congratulations. And I'll be also very brief because actually in my region, we have another newsmaker, and that's Jessica Retis, who's been very, very active in Tucson with her program. So I'm not gonna take a lot of time because just for the sake of brevity, and I'm gonna basically give my time to Jessica because I know she probably has better to hear from her than from me. all the exciting work you are doing also with Liliana Soto. I'm very, very happy of all the work that you guys are doing down there, even though we don't talk that much because we're always working, but we do exchange notes every once in a while. So very, very excited on what you guys are doing. You guys are competing really hard with ASU at the Cronkite. So I'm gonna leave it at that just so that we can kind of move on. I do want to add to what our director from Region 6 was saying, because I think working in Hispanic both at stations, I've seen also a lot of turnover, and I think it has to do also with something we talked about the last time, which is being an MMJ. I think it takes a toll on the students when they get to that first job and they don't realize how hard it is. As a producer, usually my job is really to help them. I don't want them to give up on their first job. And I have currently one person who just joined us. So I try really hard to help them out with their, I put myself in their shoes basically. And I think that has to do a lot with the fact that people try it out, and then they said, this is not for me. But I know they can do it. So I think, because we're talking about Vita Activa and using that line for stress, but I think more than the mental anguish, it's more the juggling of so many responsibilities, because the business was not like that before, when you had the photographer and you could actually focus as a reporter just on being a reporter. So I think that has a lot to do with and it gives me food for thought, maybe on things that we can do for a future virtual workshop. But I'll leave it at that. I want to keep it short. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Yes, that's correct. Valerie is a multimedia journalist, so she is feeling, and she's a young journalist too, so she's feeling the stress herself of all the different roles that you have to do now as an MMJ. So thank you. And that is a segue. We will hear from academic representative Jessica Redis, who will give us her report, and she will also give us a report from the student representative, Jorge Flores, who unfortunately had to jump out of our call because work. So Jessica.
Thank you, Nora. Yes, I'm going to start with student representative report, Jorge Flores. He had to leave because he's also leading his last cafecito with NAHJ student members. So here's his report. He said, throughout the last 3 months, I led a series of workshops regarding academic development, resume builder, and our regular cafecitos. The NAHJ Student Committee was highly involved with collaboration between student chapters, for instance, California State University, Fullerton, and DePaul University. And this is Jorge again. I am continuing to encourage student leaders to participate in student chapter awards, NAHJ and ABJ convention. As I finalize the academic year, I'm glad to share that I have seen firsthand that the student committee works as an incubator for student leaders across the student chapters. Definitely Jorge Flores is doing a great job. And we also have our former student rep, Luis Joel. He set the bar very high. So we're seeing your influence, Luis Joel. Okay, now I move to my report very briefly. I want to thank the Academic Task Force for helping design, develop, and implement our goals for this term. They are Amara Aguilar, Lourdes Cueva Chacón, Federico Suberbia, Alejandro Alvarado, Mercedes Vigón, Cita Arocha, Laura Castañeda, Melita Garza, Elio Leturia. Brief report. We created a newsletter and we send information regularly about our organization activities and inform our academic members' achievements, such as publication, promotions, and awards. 2 of our main goals, we've done other stuff, but I'm going to talk only about 2. Our main goals are the directory of academic members and the first mapping of Latinos in J school. The directory of academic members was one of our main tasks this year, was to create a comprehensive directory of NAHJ academic members. We sent several reminders.
Oops, go ahead.
Okay. We sent several reminders to our educators asking to fill out the survey. Many thanks to our colleagues who filled out it. The number of responses we got is calculated in 47% of the total of academic members, but we're currently working on reviewing and cleaning the data. So it might be a little less than that, but it was so far a good response. We're preparing a report to inform our community. Among the questions we asked about NAHJ, what NAHJ could do to help them. We received suggestions for resources on building syllabi, creating network of collaborations, webinars on emerging media, and many others. We will carefully consider their requests and we'll work on delivering to our community. If we have some educators here, academic members, if you couldn't fill out the survey this time, no worries, because we're planning on launching a new one every year. So this way we keep asking for your input and what you think you need. Then the other task was on mapping of Latinos in J school. So our team has been very busy working on the project to build our first mapping of Latino instructors in journalism school. We started conducting a data collection this semester. I want to especially thank Lourdes Cueva Chacón from San Diego State University for helping with the organization and supervising 2 students who were hired to conduct the data collection. We are in the process of finishing this task and we'll start cleaning the data and analyzing it soon. I also want to thank Federico Suberbi and Citarocha from the Academic Task Force for helping with this project. One of our goals is to highlight the gap in representation, especially among Hispanic service institutions and accredited schools. If you know any of our attendees here, if you know any stuff related to this topic that we should know about, please send it our way so we can cite them. We expect to finishing writing the report this summer. And we're looking also to bring some light to the situation of Latinos in academia, with particular attention to hiring, promotion, tenure, and retention. The situation of Latino journalists as adjuncts also in J schools, and also working journalists that are getting into graduate school as well. So this is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yes, actually, I have a question, Blanca, for minutes. You said for the directory of the academic members, did you say a number, how many you have in this latest one?
We are cleaning up the data. So far, it's calculated like 47%, but I don't want to give the number because we're cleaning it. So we have repeated it, so we're cleaning the data. Mm-hmm.
For the directory of academic members, you're still okay.
Yes, we're cleaning the data.
Okay, I thought you had a number for some reason. I thought I heard you say that.
We have a number, but there are some people that filled it out twice or even 3 times. So we need to clean it up, and then we're going to have the exact data.
And then the directory will be relaunched every year, so that you.
Yes, the plan is to send it every year. So we will ask academic members or what is needed.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Jessica, and the mapping that you're doing of where we have Latino professors or so forth, is that something that eventually we'll be able to like post on our website?
Yes. We're planning on writing a white paper. We started with HSIs. If you're not aware of that, there are Hispanic service institutions. That's a federal recognition for universities. And if I may, Nora, 2 seconds of this to explain. The student body in the academia in general is changing the demographics. So we're going to have more and more Latinos entering the colleges. So we're trying to compare how the educators are not reflecting the student body and how we can bridge the gap. That's the idea for the report, and especially important, very important in journalism schools.
Yes, I know. I know that San Antonio has a couple of institutions that are just designated.
So we're working with HSIs and accredited J schools for status. And then the hope is to map out nationally, but that will take much more time.
Well, thank you very much. This is pretty much, this concludes all of our official business. So as you can see, we're hard at work trying to serve our very varied constituents of members, from freelancers, students, academics, and of course, journalists across the various platforms of TV, news, print. Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think, is Christy Fajardo going to give her?
No, Christy has, she's got some problems with her voice. She can't speak, so she.
I apologize. I wanted to make sure. Okay.
She is not going to provide a report today. She'll give us one the next time.
And before you close, Nora, David here, just once you're finished, I have one additional item. Thank you.
Well, I was about to wrap it up and open it up to the members. Do you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, let me just share real quickly. Thank you, and sorry for interrupting before you open up the floor. Just because I know Janet has been working really hard, and as part of the Google News Lab funding, we'll be offering, we're taking NAHJ on the road, and we'll be offering in the fall a workshop in Mexico, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. So I failed to mention those. So we'll be announcing the speakers, presenters, and the topics, but those have been funded, and we'll be holding those in September, November, and December. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Wonderful. this opening it up to hear from our members. You can either raise your hand or put your question in chat.
Israel had a question.
Yeah, that's Luis Joel right now. The board members on the election committee are myself. Since I'm not running for office, I can't run for office. I went ahead and volunteered to go ahead and chair it. Johnny Cordova is joining me on that committee, and Jamie Stockwell. And then I'm rounding it up with a couple of other non-board members who I've tapped to help. So if you want to volunteer to help Luis Joel, we will gladly take it. We're just in the early stages. As you know, we just opened the nomination process. But among those who will be helping me, for example, somebody mentioned her, she's in the DC Bureau, Sylvia Foster Frau, who just joined the DC chapter. She will be among those who are joining me on the elections committee to help me do the vetting of the candidates. So still have room for another member or two, either from the board or just at large. Just send me an email directly if you want to help. I'm doing my email right now. Thank you, Luis Joel. Yes, please, please, please nominate. Please, please, please consider running.
I think there's a question from Israel.
Go ahead.
Yes, my question was actually for Jessica as she was making her presentation. I'm at Elon University. I get Jessica's emails and I get NAHJ emails. I'm wondering how I can get that newsletter or how I can sign up to the newsletter she was talking about. Is there another step that I need to take, or if I'm part of the data listed as a academic member, will I get that newsletter? Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Israel. When you register in your membership and you're an academic member, you should have been in the database. If not, please contact me and Janet and Junwen, and we will add you as academic because they send me the list of all the academic members, and that's the list we use to send the newsletter.
Okay, because I know I got your email reminding me about today's meeting, and then I got one from NAHJ. So maybe I'll just send you an email directly so that I can get added to that newsletter, because I'd love to read it. Thank you, appreciate it.
Any more questions? I do want to recognize someone in the audience. I'd like to say hello to SPJ president and a good friend of mine, Rebecca Aguilar, strong NAHJ supporter as well, former NAHJ board member.
Thank you. Great meeting, you guys. I mean, you know, even though I'm the SPJ president, I will always be loyal to NAHJ because you guys got me most of my jobs, most of my amigas here and amigos. And fortunately, you should be proud that on the SPJ board, there's 9 board members, 5 of them are NAHJ members. Viva la raza.
Thank you, Rebecca. You're
welcome.
doing a great job, especially in helping to diversify SPJ. So thank you. I try my best too on the local level. As you know, I'm on the board of the local SPJ San Antonio chapter. So try to stay active all around in furthering the cause of journalism. Thank you. Any other questions from our audience?
Nora, if I may, I would like to say that the staff is amazing. Whenever we think about anything, they just go for it. And then, yeah, thank you to the staff.
Love, love, love our staff. They work so hard. They worked twice as hard when they were, you know, without an ED for a short while. But I don't think our members ever felt it. And I know that our staff, you know, they just kept their head down and they were doing the work and then some, proposing new initiatives and so forth. So David is super lucky to have a staff as hardworking as he does. So thank you once again to Leslie Ann and Yaneth and Unilin. Appreciate all of you. So if there are no more, if nobody else has any comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
So I don't think you need a motion for that. I think you just
let's just all those in favor, let's see ya. Hey, August, everybody, please don't forget, book your flight, get your hotel because it's going to be awesome.
Yes,
see you in Vegas.
I booked my flight and the prices are going up, guys.
I know. So do it. No se les olvide.
Nora, you still have to say the words that you adjourn it.
Okay, this meeting is officially adjourned. See you in Vegas.